Everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name's Will. I'm the Commercial Sales Manager at Suntech, and today I'm going to be giving you a bit of a presentation on Sunways Inverters. I'm also joined by my colleagues Ken and Andrew, who are PV engineers, so they'll be addressing any questions as the webinar goes ahead. So if you've got anything that you want to ask or clarify, feel free to just drop some questions in the Q&A section, and my colleagues will just answer them as we go. So yeah, Sunways, what I'll probably do is just give you all a bit of an introduction on Sunways, who they are. Obviously, it's an inverter range new to Australia. They've actually been around for about 30 years. So it was a German company that started off in 1993 producing a range of inverters. And then what happened in 2014, they were purchased by Suntech's parent company, Sunfeng Clean Energy Group. And basically, Sunways are now exclusively distributed in Australia by Suntech. So, yeah, they've been around for a very long time. Although, you know, they've been around for 30 years, production has now moved over to China. So the reason for that was to reduce production costs. They've now got a global production capacity of about 10,000 units per month. So that's going to move up to about 20,000 units per month as of next year. The R&D and everything else is still actually out of Germany. So we've got an R&D team that's still kind of putting all the processes together for us. So another good point with the Sunways range of inverters is they've got a very strong R&D team, which is about 50 people. Each of them have got about 10 years experience. A lot of them actually come from some of the main inverter manufacturers. So what that's meant is that they've been able to bring their knowledge of what has and hasn't worked for some of the bigger brands, and we've been able to implement that into the production of the Sunways inverter range moving forward. Another good thing is they've got a very strong team, and because it's not a huge company, they've actually got very fast production cycles. So as the market trends change and adapt, they're actually able to implement those changes really quickly to keep up with those market demands. So for instance, with the upcoming changes with the IS 4777.2-2020, Sunways have already started the process to make sure everything's going to be certified and ready to go. So I'm just going to give you a bit of a snapshot of the different products that are available. So we've got quite a diversified product range. So we've currently already got in Australia, which RFI have been selling for about a month now. We've got the 3 to 5 kilowatt single phase residential series. We're going to be adding to that with a 7 and an 8 kilowatt single phase inverter, which is just about to be CEC listed, and that'll be available in about 4 or 5 weeks in Australia. We've also got the 3-phase commercial series, which is the power class ranges 4 to 25 kilowatts. So they're actually going to be listed as of next week, and we've got a container that should be arriving in Australia in about 4 or 5 weeks. And then we also have the 50 to 125 kilowatt 3-phase industrial range. So that's also going to be listed and available in the next couple of months. And then on top of that, we've also got the hybrid range for the single phase, which the power class is the 3 to 8 kilowatts, and we've also got the 4 to 12 kilowatt 3-phase hybrid range. So basically lots of different applications. It's a very diversified product range to tick all the boxes, and we do have batteries that Sunways are also going to be developing probably early to mid next year. So obviously there's a lot of inverters in the market. It's quite saturated. So you're probably asking why would you consider Sunways? So I'll just go through some of the USPs. There are a few standout features. I mean, one of the main things that gives this product some weight and does make it for an installer quite an easier sell than something else that's new to the market is that because Sunways is Suntech's sister company, Suntech are going to be completely backing this product. So we're exclusively distributing this in the Australian market. So we're going to be looking after all the technical support, all the warranties. So, you know, if there's ever an issue, you call Suntech, who's been around for 15 years. So it gives you the confidence and the customer the confidence that, you know, if there's a problem, it's going to get fixed. Also, look, it comes with a 12-year warranty, which covers the parts and labour. So that's, you know, one of the best warranties in the industry. And the other thing that you will notice as soon as you see the product, it's a very high quality product that's coming into quite an attractive price point. So there's a couple of reasons what makes it high quality. So the components that are used are all tier 1, best in class components. So that actually gives it a very high conversion efficiency compared to some of the other inverters out there. You've also got the ability to continuously boost the AC output by 10%. So when you're commissioning the inverter, if the DNSP allows it, you can actually go into the settings and you can flick a switch. So if it's a 5 kilowatt inverter, and you can boost it to 5.5 kilowatts. A really good feature that is a standout is the portal, the monitoring portal for O&M, operations and maintenance. So very, very user friendly. There's 2 versions, one for the homeowner, which is an app-based monitoring application, and then we've got the web portal, which is for an installer, which I'll do a live demo of shortly. And it works really well compared to a lot of the other platforms that are out there. Now, the operating temperatures have been measured to be around 10 degrees lower than other inverters, and the reason for that is the casing of the inverter is made from a single piece aluminium extrusion, which has got an integrated heatsink. And also the design of the circuit board, it's actually got all the heat generating components shielded from the main circuit. So, and they're placed at the top of the inverter, so all the heat dissipates really efficiently. It does have type 2 surge protection built in on the AC and the DC, so improved safety and performance in lightning prone areas. And it does have built-in export power control, so they have the ability to detect real-time power from the grid. That feeds the signal back to the inverter, so it can then dynamically adjust its power output in order to achieve export limitation requirements. So the good thing with that is you don't need a smart meter, just the CT. And then obviously the warranties, which we've just mentioned. So just a quick snapshot of the monitoring. So this is the Sunways Pro, which is the web portal for the installer, which gives you a lot of flexibility and control and visibility. So very easy to monitor and maintain all the systems that you've installed from Sunways. And then, as I said, there's an app version, and we'll have a look at the Pro version shortly. So just a bit of a snapshot of the internals of the Sunways inverter. So you can see the circuit board here. They've partnered with all the leading manufacturers of the components. So it's all the latest tier 1, which leads to really efficient and high performance. So we've got Panasonic, Chemet, Texas Instruments for the chips, Rubicon capacitors, and Infineon. So it's all the latest high performing components. So there's no cost being cut with this inverter. It's a really high quality system. What we've done here is just a bit of a comparison with other inverters that it's going to be up against. So where we're positioning this in the market is probably somewhere between Goodwe and SunGrow. So it's the pricing is probably going to sit somewhere in between, but the quality and the features I think do stand out in comparison to the two. So I'll just go through some of those comparisons for you. So obviously the display, it's always one of the first things to fail on an inverter when it's LCD or LED. So they're not resistant to heat or direct sunlight. So Sunways has an OLED display, which, you know, it's obviously got a much higher resolution, better resistant to heat up to 85 degrees, and it's got a lifespan up to 25,000 hours. The shell, as I said, is a single piece aluminium extrusion with an integrated heatsink. So some of the other inverters out there have plastic casing or steel metal sheet, which doesn't dissipate the heat as well. So the performance can obviously be affected. And then if we look at the side or the casing, the way that the shell's brought together, so because it's a single piece aluminium extrusion, it's better thermal conductivity and better sealing performance than some of the other inverters. So if we have a look at some of the product components, we can see the Sunways is using 2 sets of 315 volt Rubicon capacitors. you know, in comparison to some of the others that are only using one set of higher voltage, but leads to not quite the same performance. And we'll go through some of the testing graphs which can kind of demonstrate the differences between the two. This is more of a visual, so you can see what's inside the inverter and how it compares to the others. So the AC output filter capacitor on the Sunways is a Panasonic 380 volts dual 85 capacitor. So that gives it greater durability in higher temperatures. So it's better suited to handling extreme voltage fluctuations. It uses the Infineon, the latest version of the IGBT from Infineon, which essentially has a higher conversion efficiency of boost, which is about 0.6 higher than others on the market in some of the other inverters that it's kind of marketed or positioned against. And this is a cutaway of the Sunways inverter, so you can see how it's designed and basically why it performs better, why the internal temperatures are lower. So you can see on the right, the heat generating components are placed at the top of the inverter. They're shielded from the rest of the circuit board. You've also got two relay sets in comparison to another popular brand that it kind of sits against in the market. And just visually, you can see the difference in regards to the design and the layout. So it's a really high quality product. That's you know, you will really see that once you have a look at it. Now, if we have a look at the testing comparison, so this was done in-house by Sunways, so you know, I probably should say it's not an independent test, but we tested the conversion efficiency at different voltages and at different ranges. And Sunways is the orange graph, so you can see that the output is higher in comparison to the other inverters that it's up against. That's at 370 volts, 500 volts, and 240 volts. The harmonic ratio, which should be less than 5%, you can see Sunways is consistently under that. And also the DCI value, which should be less than 0.5%. You can also see that Sunways is coming in much lower than the others. So what I'm going to do now is just switch over to a demo video of the actual monitoring portal.
Sunways have developed a couple of options for performance monitoring. So with their mobile monitoring, they've developed a user-friendly and informative monitoring app for system owners called Sunways Home, and another one for installers or distributors called Sunways Pro. These apps provide accurate and comprehensive real-time data analysis with system fault alarms and reports whenever and wherever the user may be. This ensures reliable and stable system operation with nominal downtime, providing total confidence to the end user. With the Sunways Pro web monitoring option, so this provides installers and distributors with a single management platform to access every Sunways system they've installed with ease. This gives total visibility of system performance and fault notifications with the ability to diagnose issues and manage solutions remotely, and this dramatically lowers service costs. So with the Sunways Pro web monitoring platform, service engineers have the ability to remotely configure settings, update firmware, all without the need to be on site, and this reduces service calls dramatically. So what we're going to do now is just have a look at the Sunways Pro web monitoring portal in a little bit more detail. What you would do is just go to the Sunways website, log in with your details, and then you will be presented with the following screen. So once you log into your account, you'll be presented with the home page, which is an overview of all the different Sunways systems that have been installed. So it's a really nice snapshot of everything in one page, so you can see which systems are performing well, what the daily, monthly, lifetime generation is of everything combined. You can see total number of plants installed, how many are currently generating, how many are offline. If there are any issues or errors in any of the systems, they'll actually pop up in real time. They'll show you a little alarm notification, which you can then click on and get more detailed info. you can see obviously different graphs for performance figures. Now, the good thing with this is that it's completely customizable based on what information you want to be able to access in one quick and easy home screen. So as you can see, if I click on this little module here, you can drag and drop it, move it around, resize it. You can get rid of it. And then what we can do up here is, if we just click on this, you've got predefined modules of data that you could actually drag and drop onto the home screen. So whatever kind of information you want to be viewable, you basically just go here and you can customize it as per your requirements, which is really nice. So the other thing that's really nice is you can then click on the plant module just up here, and that will then take you to a quick summary of each of those systems that are aggregated on the home page. So you can see basic information for every system that's been installed. Now, if you then went to drill down on specific information for a particular plant, we would just click on whichever one you want to view, and it will basically then bring up all the specific information and performance figures for that plant. So once you click on one of the plants, it will bring up all the information specific to that particular installation, and exactly the same as the homepage overview, you can actually change what information is displayed. So the different modules can be moved around or completely removed altogether, and then you just go up onto the little sidebar and select which data you want it to display. So it's completely customizable based on individual customer requirements. This particular system has export control and consumption monitoring features set up, so you can actually see the real-time energy flow through the little diagram here, and then it will give you a graph which shows the PV generation, consumption, electricity sold, electricity consumed, and you can also display what the income generated is from this in a graph here if you go into the subsidy tab up here and enter the rates. So that's a nice feature for you to actually see how much it's generating income-wise. The other thing which is really nice about this, you can actually drill down into the specifics regarding that inverter. So when we click on the Devices tab, you get a lot more detailed information relating to the specific inverter. So looking at some of the key performance parameters, which is really good for in-depth analysis or fault finding. So you can look at the key DC and AC input-output parameters. There's a wide range of interval data options available to display. So real-time power generation, currently shown in 5-minute intervals. You can actually change that from daily, monthly, yearly. We can see, if we click here, you can have a look at the DC current, which will display the output, which will show in real time. I can look at the DC voltage. Same again, AC current. And AC voltage. And frequency. So you've also got the option to, for whatever data set you're looking at, you can also export as a CSV format, which is really good for further data analysis. So it's very accurate and really good quality data, which is good from an O&M, operations and maintenance perspective, or troubleshooting. Really makes the service team's job a lot more easy. Another really user-friendly feature for the Sunways Pro portal is the Alarm tab. So this will present a calendar view of any faults that have been registered for any of the systems. It will give you a nice snapshot of each of those errors, which is really good for keeping track of things, looking at your alarm history, and it gives you a really comprehensive breakdown of each fault in real time as it pops up. So if we click on this one here, you can see which inverter it relates to, the time the alarm came on, what type of fault it is, the current status. It'll give you a reason why that alarm has gone off, and it'll give you a few tips on troubleshooting. So it's a really good way to keep on top of everything and make sure that none of the systems aren't getting treated as and when those alarms pop up. So it's a really comprehensive way to keep on top of things. So in summary, the Sunways Pro Portal gives installers a really user-friendly and easy to manage way of keeping track of all the systems that have been installed, making sure everything's performing as it should be. Any issues, it's very easy to keep on top of everything and report that information and give reports back to the customer. So we believe that this will provide a lot of features that aren't available with other platforms currently out there.
Okay, so just before we have a look at answering any questions that might have popped up, I am just going to do a quick demo of the Wi-Fi commissioning and configuration for the Sunways inverter. So if I just click this, really simple. So you just plug in the Wi-Fi dongle into the inverter. Note that this will have a built-in DC isolator. This was an old unit, so you would turn on the AC and DC breaker of the inverter. And then we just wait for it to initiate. Then you would connect to the Sunways Wi-Fi. So you just choose Sunways Wi-Fi, and then the stars would just represent the serial number of the inverter. Go to a web browser on a mobile device or a laptop, search for 10.10.100.254. Pop-up box, just enter admin for the username and admin for the password. So what you want to do here is just go to the STA setting page, input the SSID and password details taken from the customer's router, or you can just hit the scan, select the required network name and enter the password. Yeah, so once that's entered, you would save and rescan or restart, and that would complete the Wi-Fi configuration. And then afterwards you would hopefully see the status light should be solid green, which means it's successfully been set up. So that is basically the yeah, that's everything Sunways related. So if you've got any questions, feel free to fire them over on the Q&A section. We've got Ken, who's one of the engineers that will be responsible for looking after any technical support or warranty issues with Suntech, or sorry, Sunways. He also looks after Suntech. So yeah, let's. We've got any other questions that are coming through, or I guess yeah, probably a good one to start off with, which is something we do get asked quite frequently, is just in regards to warranty process. So it's exactly the same as what we currently offer for Suntech panels. So we have a team of PV engineers in-house in our Sydney office. It's going to be the same team that looks after Sunways. So you essentially just give us a call. We'll pick up the phone. There's no recorded messages or anything, and we guarantee we'd get back and resolve it within 24 to 48 hours. I think the current rates are around $150 paid per inverter. So yeah, it's a really, really good customer service that we provide. Whoever joined, thanks for tuning in. And yeah, if you've got any other questions, feel free to email Alkyra or myself. We'll probably send out contact details after the session. Thanks, guys.